Hey guys, it's Dani. Today we are going to dedicate an entire video to my Vanda orchids, the entire Vanda collection. Some of you guys requested that I do film them a little bit more. I don't usually film them. And now that they're in the greenhouse and I can film them... Oh, hi baby. Maya's gonna join us. She got super friendly actually lately. So since they're in the greenhouse and I can film them without showing you the neighbors, well, that's what we're gonna do today. Excuse the noise. Go a little bit through the history and what happened to them lately and just show you how they're doing. Some of them are really picking up growth, so don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and why not subscribe? I post 3 times a week, and more often than not, Maya wants to join my videos, which is so cool. Hey, you want to sit on my shoulder? If you promise not to poop, I'm gonna put you on my shoulder. By the way, at the end of the video, I will tell you an embarrassing story that happened this morning. I just gotta share it with you guys because it's hilarious now. At the time it wasn't, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Alrighty, so let's start with the taller Vandas. I'm not gonna get them one by one because we're gonna finish tomorrow, but I think 3 at a time will work. So a little recap. Me and Vandas have had quite an interesting history ever since I moved countries. They have been in all sorts of setups which were not okay from one point of view or another. I kept changing them. And most recently, I had to switch them to the terracotta pots, which thankfully I had around because their plastic pots started to just crack. Yep, I just found them falling on the floor, so I had to take some immediate action. And of course, all of this kind of set them back. I also burned them 1 year, so that happened. So yeah, I wasn't super great with the Vandas for the past years. This year though, it was pretty okay, and you will see most of them are starting to bounce back. And of course, bloom. I should have a lot more Vanda blooms considering the number of Vandas that I have, but I don't. You know why? Because I set them back. All right. So this is the Rincorita's Bangkok Sunset crossed with Renanthera storiae. This is supposed to be a really cute red Vandaceous orchid. So if you can imagine a red Renanthera crossed with the beautiful Bangkok Sunset, which I have. She looks really good right now. And yeah, I cannot wait for this one to produce a flower spike. Sadly, ever since I had her for a few years now, it did not produce any flower spikes because she was burned. Do you see? We still have some burn on the leaves. Some of the leaves I had to cut. She was severely traumatized, I guess you can say, by that, but she is doing great, putting out a lot of roots, as you can see. So I am hoping, fingers crossed, for a bloom or actually a flower spike pretty soon. Aww. Maya's chilling on the director's chair. Like, I swear to you guys, I'm not getting her here just to get brownie points and showing her in my videos. She literally flies closer to what I'm doing just because she's curious. And you can see she is actually chilling on the chair, which means she's enjoying herself. And next to it, we have an orchid which is as old as the world. Not really. This is an orchid that I purchased from another YouTuber actually. This is Kagawara Christilo, and oh boy, this one is supposed to be really cute as well. I think a red color again. She was not in the greatest shape to begin with, and yeah, I did a lot of mistakes as well. But look at her now. She looks really, really good. She put out a ton of roots, and she does have a Renanthera in her parentage. I love Renantheras. I think you noticed. So again, I'm really, really hoping for a flower spike from this one soon because finally she started to look much better. All right, here we have 3 smaller Vandas. This one was recently in bloom, and don't worry, I will talk more about it in my Orchids in Bloom video at the end of the month. This is the Ascacinda Golden Dawn Kerry Romani. It is, I think, my very first Vanda orchid with a wild pattern. She is orange, she has a whole lot of dots on her flowers. I'm gonna show you some spoilers. It isn't fragrant, but I'm so happy to see it in bloom. This one, I think you can tell, was not in the best shape either, and just now she has quite a bit of a root system, good enough to get hydrated, but she definitely needs more work. Anyway, very happy with the flower. It actually arrived with a picture which is a little discolored now from the sun. I was not expecting the picture to look like the actual flowers, but it did. I am so happy with this orchid. I love it so much. I can only imagine the other Vandas how beautiful they will look. This one, I don't really know what it is. For whatever reason, the marker got erased from the tag. All I can see is that it's a Rhincoretus Bangkok Sunset crossed with something. I'm not entirely sure what. I looked through my records, through my orders as much as I can, and I'm not sure exactly what this one is. So it might be the Bangkok Sunset crossed with the Vanda Willis. I remember I wanted to buy it at some point. I'm not sure if I did. At this point, my hard drive is getting a little full, so I need to delete some information, I guess, in order to remember other type of information. But sadly, I don't know what this is. It does not have a flower spike just yet, but I'm waiting for it patiently. And next to them is quite a special Vanda. This is the Vanda Terrace crossed with Vanda Brighton Gold. And it should have a beautiful yellow flower, again that wild shape, not your typical, let's say, pachara shapes, which I do adore, or the Sanderiana shape, but I'm looking for diversity, you know? I love having these variations with my Vandas. And good news, after 2 or 3 years of waiting, this one has a flower spike. You can see that some of the leaves are a lot shorter at some point. She was very sit back at some point, but now she's doing okay. The leaves are looking nice, and I do see a flower spike. So here we're gonna see some beautiful flowers soon. All right, next up, 2 more big orchids. This is a, no idea, oh no. I know what this one is, but look, the tag is faded again. I think I need to get myself some better markers. So this is a no ID black Vanda. I purchased it locally. I do have footage with this Vanda. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Could be black magic or something of the sorts. It's coming from Pure Anko. I think that's a company. I think I should check a little bit their Facebook. Maybe they have it under at least a commercial name. I just call it Vanda Black. It's not really black, but it does have a very dark color. This one suffered a little bit, lost a few roots, but now she does have some new roots. She just needs to produce a lot more to sustain this big orchid. So looking a little sad, but I think she's gonna pull through. These roots are actually pretty viable, and I do see quite a few roots in the pot. And that over there is the Vanda tricolor, which I burned quite a lot. Not this year, last year. And you can see some remains of that. I had to cut away some of the leaves. It didn't appreciate it, needless to say. It produced a keiki or 2, which is great, and also quite a few new roots. But yeah, I can tell that she is stressed. I can tell she really didn't appreciate the sunburn, and I'm gonna have to wait a little bit for the flowers. Although it is a mature Vanda, I do have flower spikes spent in the past. I don't think it's gonna bloom this year, and it's entirely my fault, but yeah, what to do? Sometimes things you didn't think would happen actually happen, as you will see at the end of the video. All right, next up, 2 more biggish Vandas. This is Vanda Sanderiana. The wind actually bent this leaf, and it bent it so bad that it created a line. Actually, the leaf is broken. It's just kind of hanging on. I need to cut it. I just didn't get around to for whatever reason. I'm gonna cut it now, but the orchid herself is doing pretty okay. I do have a lot of keikis at the base, which I don't know if the Sanderiana is prone to creating keikis, but I have, I think, 3 keikis. And you know what? I'm good with that because all of these keikis will grow and they will produce flower spikes, which is awesome. But I'm wondering if it is a response to the whole stress. You can see some sunburn signs and some dehydration signs, and everything is okay now, but I do wonder if the keiki production was a response to all of that stress. And next to it, we have a Rhincostylis gigantea cartoon, which has a flower spike. I am so happy. Currently, this is my favorite of the giganteas, although I have only the spot and theoretically the white, which never bloomed, so I don't know. I might go for the peach as well. If these orchids would smell a little better, I would buy more of them, but they don't, so I'm not sure that I want to buy all varieties, to be honest. But anyway, this is the one I wanted all along. I lost my first one, so I purchased another one, which looks how it looks now. She's looking okay, and she has a flower spike, which will become pendant, and I'm sure it will put on a great show. And P.S. when I purchased these pots, the labels were super stuck, and they would leave a very sticky residue even on the clay pot. So that's why I still have the labels on the pot. I was hoping that with watering and just time passing by, they would become easier to remove, but no. I don't think so. Anyway, so that's why I kind of leave them on. One day I'll remove them, but I cannot really be bothered with it right now. Okay, here we go. 3 more Tinier Vandas. This is not so tiny at this point anymore, which is good. This is Vanda Gyrac Magenta. Oh, I remember this one. I purchased it a couple of years ago or so, and the color intrigued me. In pictures, the color is a beautiful fuchsia magenta. I'm not sure if reality will be the same, but I was just intrigued. And since I like Rhinantheras anyway, I decided to give it a go. The problem is it is purchased from a seller that I don't really have that much faith in, so I'm hoping it will be what it was shown in the picture, but who knows at this point. She's healthy though. She has done really beautifully in the pot, much better than bare-rooted or in the basket because she really likes water. Rhinantheras generally, for me at least, prefer a little bit more water than Vandas. They're not so drought tolerant. Next to it, we have a tiny little girl. This is Pereirara. Rapipath. I don't know how to pronounce this. You guys should let me know because I do feel like I pronounced it completely wrong. This is another Rhincoretus Bangkok Sunset hybrid that I really like. And guess what? It has done beautifully and it has a flower spike. So I'm hoping it will develop nicely and I will have one of the better versions of it. There are a few versions on the market. One of them is a little bit more yellow, one is a little bit more purple. I think I want the one with both yellow and purple, to be fully honest. But we'll see what this ends up looking like. However, I'm super excited about it. And in the back there, you will never guess, this is the Vanda Colmarie. I received this Vanda many years ago, 3, 4, I guess at this point, so I guess not so many. Depends how you look at things. And I had to cut the stem a lot because it did have fusarium, or at least to me it looked like it did. It was not in a good shape and it continued not to be in the best of shapes for quite a while, but now potted, it really thrived. I see that my Rhinco styluses do better potted. They don't seem as drought tolerant as some other bigger Vandas for me. And you guys know my environment really tests the limits when it comes to drought tolerance. So for me, the potted setup is the way to go. It doesn't have a flower spike just yet. I cannot wait until I see the first flower spike because the color is amazing. It's a really dark purple. I don't have a lot of dark colored flowers or orchids in my collection, not because I don't like them, I adore them, but they're not so common, which makes them rather special, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna try to search for more orchids which have dark colored flowers. All right, 2 more big Vandas. This big girl over here is it's a Vandaceous orchid. I'm not entirely sure because I have the abbreviation on the tag. This is the Jetima, and I bought it as a big individual, and she is big. She did not bloom ever since I purchased her, which was about 1.5 years ago at this point, I do believe. But I think I see a little swelling developing. I am not entirely sure. I'm hoping it is because it's supposed to have beautiful fluffy flowers, so we're gonna see about that. I have been waiting for this orchid for ages and she's doing so great. She is super vigorous, grew quite a lot larger, but no flowers just yet. So who knows? Hopefully this season is the lucky season, fingers crossed. And the one next to it is one of my personal favorites, although I never saw it in bloom. This is the Vanda luzonica, and in pictures it looks amazing. It looks wild. It has that wild, not very rounded shape. And to be honest, I didn't really see much of these wilder looking Vandas. And when I say wild, I guess I mean more natural. These are species. Although that's incorrect as well because the Sanderiana is rounded and is natural. So forget I ever said anything. These non-round shaped Vanda flowers, I didn't really get to see a lot face to face. So I'm very excited about them. I don't see any flower spikes, but I do see 2 little keikis, which is exciting. I'm happy she's doing great because it's one of those Vandas that I've kind of always wanted to have. Next 3 little orchids are super special. This is the Rhincostylis gigantea variety spot. I had it in bloom a little while ago and it was beautiful. Sally did not create any flower spikes ever since then, hoping soon, but look at that root system. The gigantea typically has really thick roots, particularly for the size of the orchid. It looks a little bit unbalanced if you look at it, but she's very, very healthy, so hopefully a flower spike will follow soon. Next to it, my pride and joy, my crown jewel for the past 7 years. This is an old orchid in my collection. It just doesn't grow fast. It is not a big orchid, and I also cut a little bit of the stem because I burned the heck out of it a couple of years ago. This is my Rhynchoridis, or Pereirara, I think it's called, Bangkok Sunset, currently with 2 flower spikes, which is awesome. It never actually put out 2 flower spikes for me. So I'm super excited about the evolution it has this year. It has a very good root system at the moment. She seems to really enjoy being potted rather than bare rooted. I just don't have that time to make sure it's properly hydrated. So she's enjoying the potted situation, and she does have my favorite flowers in my entire collection. Tiny, but having the colors of the sunset. How wonderful is that? And next to them is a really new addition which we potted together. This is the Renanthera calcium. Of course, Renantheras, I love them. I want to have all the Renantheras that nurseries have the possibility to offer. I want to have them all. I seriously like Renantheras, you guys. So this one is doing well. You can see she's putting out new roots. She has been recently repotted in this Repot Me pot. That sounded like a tongue twister. It kind of was. So she's doing really well, but she's a very, very new orchid in my collection. Alrighty, next up here we have a whole bunch of them. This is, oh, let go. There you go. So this is the Vanda, formerly known as Ascenda, Viboon Sunset Spotted Tangerine. I had this one in bloom at the beginning of, oh, how rude. So I had it in bloom at the beginning of summer. She is very orange and very spotted, and I have a flower spike growing. This is such a vigorous hybrid. It grows pretty fast for a Vanda, and it also blooms multiple times a year. It doesn't actually have a blooming season. Downside, it's not fragrant, it doesn't have very big flowers, but that color, you guys, it's absolutely spectacular. Definitely recommend this one. Next to it, we have an orchid that you might not know. I don't even remember either. I know what it is, but I just don't remember the name. Vanda Roll All Red. This is one that I actually received from a friend, and she's supposed to be all red, as the name suggests, which is exciting because I don't actually have red Vandas. I think this is one of the main goals for me in the following months or years, to get myself some Vanda-looking red Vandas, not red Renantheras, but something that looks more along the lines of this one. So this one, again, we had some issues. There are actually 4 plants in here. One of them I see has issues. It's super dehydrated. I don't know why. The other 3 are okay. We have a nice root system, but one, I don't know, maybe detached from the other one. Maybe it doesn't have roots. I don't know what's happening with this one. I might have to remove it, but the other 3 shoots are looking okay. And here in the front, we have an Ascocentrum. This is the Denisonianum. We had him in bloom at the beginning of the spring, I guess. He's my tiny little Vandaceous orchid, which is growing very, very tall. Its flowers are really tiny, pink, cute, non-fragrant, but it's really, really charming. It's something else, and particularly if you don't have a lot of space, it can actually be a great addition for a tiny little shelf. It's subtle and cute, so if you prefer these types of flowers, this is the little orchid for you. Next up, we have a bit of a mixed bunch. This is my Vandacenderiana variety Alba. She was quite tiny. When I received it, she didn't grow very, very tall or a whole lot, but she does have quite a nice root system now. For a while, she was dehydrated, she had a little sunburn, just like most of the other Vandas, but finally she is doing okay, I guess. But it's gonna take a while until we see flowers. In the front here, we have my Ascophanedia Peaches. We had her in bloom. She's a reliable bloomer, very easy to care for hybrid. Just need to tidy it up a little bit, remove these spent flower spikes. And in the back there, that's my Rhynchostylus Celestis Blue, and oh boy, I was a little nervous with this one. You can see it's really dehydrated. I actually sunburned quite a bit of it, but finally it does have a good root system. It is absorbing water, so it will pull through. I don't expect blooms this year. It bloomed for the past 2 years. Last year it was beautiful, but yeah, it's a little bit too stressed at this point, so I don't think it will bloom, but I think it will be okay. The roots are actually absorbing water, but it took all summer for this new root system to grow. Next up, here we have the Vanda Mimi Palmer, not looking great at all. So what happened was, all of the roots inside the pot are lost. I can see them, they're not good anymore. So the orchid created new roots from the top and new root branches. The problem is, they did not grow enough to reach the soil and get hydration. So What I need to do with this orchid is cut away this portion of the stem that does not have live roots anymore and pot these particular roots, or at least make them have some contact with the medium. It's either that or watering this orchid multiple times a day. I choose that. So I think I'm gonna take you along for the video, show you how I like to go about these things. You can see the orchid is super dehydrated. I need to do something pretty fast. I just didn't have a lot of time at my disposal lately, but I need to really give this orchid some time because I'm gonna lose it if I don't do something. And next to it is an orchid that I received from one of you guys. This is a pink, I think it might be the Pachara pink. That's what it sounds like. I'm not entirely sure, so I'm just gonna call it the pink no ID. One of you lovely girls sent this to me because you didn't necessarily have the best conditions for it. You can see it has sunburn. It actually arrived with a sunburn. It is one of the very few Vandas that I didn't sunburn myself. But anyway, ever since I received it, she has been doing really nice. You can see this top part has almost all grown in my care, and it is looking really pretty. It's not burned, so she will pull through. With this one, I will have to do at some point what I will do with the Mimi Palmer, but we do have roots in the pot at this moment, so I'm not gonna disturb it way too much. I might not actually disturb it in the end, but anyway, most of the roots sadly are aerial, so I need to spritz them. These two, I do spritz them from time to time, which is always a bit frustrating because sometimes I just don't have the time to do that. And being that it's winter, if I leave water in between the leaves and it doesn't evaporate as the temperatures are low and we're inside, there's no wind inside, then I might be in trouble. So I prefer not to spritz anything or actually mist anything, but this is how I have to do things at the moment at least. Next up, some orchids which used to be seedlings. They're not so much seedlings anymore, but they're not really mature either. So this is the Vanda variety Rotori. It was kind of tiny when I got it, and I think it grew kind of fast, or at least if my memory serves me right. Look at her. Yeah, we're not gonna see flowers in the next 2 years or so, but I think she grew kind of fast. This is a new one. This is Vanda Mulata Boxali 4N. So this one should be a really pretty orchid, but it's gonna take a lot of time. It's a newer orchid in my collection. Back there we have the Suavis, the tricolor variety Suavis, which I do have in a mature state, but I think this is a different variety. She used to be quite tiny, looks kind of cool now. It did go through a little bit of setback, but she's okay. And at the edge of the row, we have another Gigantea, which is supposed to be the Alba variety. Never bloomed before, she was kind of tiny. Now it's kind of big, if I do say so myself, but she was a little bit set back. Anyway, there are a few other seedlings that I have. Most of them are not doing much, so no point in showing them to you right now, but let me just show you another Vanda before I get to the story, because I want to talk a little bit about it. This one. This is my last remaining Denisoniana relative. It's a hybrid. It's the Denisoniana crossed with Ascenda Memoria Tianchai. I might be wrong on the ID, but I'll make sure to write it correctly in the tag. I lost all of my Denisonianas. Did you notice that there's no Denisoniana anywhere in this video? Yeah, I lost them all. The big ones, the small ones, the orange one, the yellow one, whatever had Denisoniana even remotely in the tag is lost, gone forever. And they all perished in the very same way. The crown got affected by something, and I don't understand what exactly, because I did not water them from above, especially this year. Also, all of them tried to create some sort of keikis instead of flower spikes, but it didn't work out all that great. The only time in which I could keep a Denisoniana okay was the time in which I did not grow it outside. So I'm seeing a pattern. Either it's the humidity sometimes outside, either it's the heat, the extreme heat. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna try to keep my Denisonianas inside in the grow room because there's something in my environment that affects them. All of them. Only the Denisonianas did this, and they're hybrids. None of the other orchids had any type of issues. I don't know why, but yeah, all of them perished in the same way. It's really weird. If you guys have bad experiences with the Denisonianas, like so shockingly only with them, let me know down below in the comment section because I can't really figure it out. It's something in the environment, the heat, the moisture, something, but I don't know what it is. At the moment, I don't have any more Denisonianas, which is sad because I love them. This is the only remaining one, and you can see it doesn't look so good. And excuse the noise, please. I cannot really do anything about it. But yeah, pretty much this is the last of the denisonianas, and I really don't know what happened to them. Alright, so now let me tell you about the funny thing that happened this morning while we're watching Joey. A little disclaimer, I'm gonna be talking about blood analysis, so if you're iffy, just don't watch this. I'll see you next time. Bye! Alright, so this morning I went for some blood tests as part of my routine. Nothing in particular, just maintenance. And I did the whole shebang. Whenever that happens, you know, they do extract at least 3 vials, or at least they do here in Europe. Now, here's the thing with me. Whenever I do particular tests and they only take, you know, 1 vial, I'm perfectly fine, walk out of there like nothing happened. But whenever I do everything and I get like 3 or more vials, then things start to get a little dramatic. I feel a little woozy, a little dizzy afterwards. I kind of need to lay down for a few minutes, drink some water, eat some sugar, something sweet, you know, and I get over it in a few minutes and I, you know, go about my day. So yesterday I told my boyfriend that I might feel woozy afterwards, so it would be a good idea if he could drive me there and bring me back home safely, so, you know, nothing happens to me or anybody else on the street. And he was like, yeah, sure. Because the world is as it is, and you know, the big C word, I'm not gonna pronounce it because I'm gonna trigger some algorithms. Things are done a little bit differently nowadays. So in the clinic where we went, they only allowed 5 people at a time in the waiting room and in the office, of course. So if there were 5 people inside, you needed to wait outside. Anyway, I go in. When my turn comes, I do the thing. Doctor was nice, everything was great, and I tell the doctor that I usually get a little bit woozy afterwards. They invite me to sit down, but I, for whatever reason, decide to play the hero and say, no, I'm gonna wait in the lobby so, you know, I don't take up space and stuff. Anyway, so I go and sit there on the chair. Mind you, I was the youngest person there by a mile. Everybody else was elderly. And in contrast, I was super young. Anyway, at this point, I was pretty woozy. I was seriously dizzy, but not to the point of not being able to walk. So I look at my water bottle and in my mind is like, wait, if I take off my mask and I drink water and for whatever reason I choke and start coughing water everywhere here with these elderly people, that might not be a good idea. And then I look outside and I see a lot of elderly people just on their feet waiting for somebody to get out of the clinic so one of them can come in. The doctors there put a chair outside, but they didn't have enough chairs for everybody, so I start to feel really, really bad about myself. And most other people kind of had issues walking. So anyway, bottom line, I felt bad. I was like, you know what, if my boyfriend holds my hand, we can make it to the car where I can drink my water and open my cookie, right? So after 10 seconds of sitting down and assessing the situation, I decide that, hey, I'm brave. I'm just gonna walk out of the clinic, make a run for the car, and I'll be just fine. So I walk out of the clinic. My boyfriend's like, are you okay? Don't you wanna lay down? And I'm like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. And at that very moment, I feel things getting much, much worse. I feel that my legs are not really responding anymore, and I feel like my vision is starting to disappear. And I tell my boyfriend to hold me, and he's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, sure, no problem. And that's the last thing I remember. I passed out right there in front of the clinic on the street. And then when I came around, I was on a chair. The nurses were around me, worried. My boyfriend was next to me. People were looking at me. Everybody was worried. I was actually feeling quite a lot more refreshed. My vision was coming back. My ears started to declog. I had functions in my limbs again. And I felt the cool breeze of the morning on my face because my mask was dangling somewhere. And I look up at my boyfriend and I'm like, did I just pass out? You did. I felt so embarrassed. I'm always embarrassed whenever I get blood work because it happens, but it never happened this bad. And this is most probably because I decided to stand up and just walk. And the thing is, from my understanding, I might not be correct on this one, I'm just saying, I have low blood pressure and that contributes, and some people do react in this way when they get a lot of blood drawn because it takes a little bit for the blood to travel back to the brain, apparently. So if you lay down, it helps. If you lay down and put your feet up, it actually helps. I obviously did not do that. I was brave or whatever. Actually, I felt bad, really. Because people were walking out of there like nothing happened, and I just wanted to be like the others, you know, but nope. I actually asked my boyfriend how long I was out, And he was like, oh, 20 seconds, not much. But it was hard to collect you off the ground. I'm like, you let me fall on the ground? Well, not really. You were kind of kneeling, but you were so heavy all of a sudden. I was holding your purse, holding your jacket and everything. Okay. Anyway, so how did I realize that I passed out? Because it all happened so fast. And for me, it was not a bad experience. I just fell asleep. So in the office, I was talking to the doctor and she asked me where I'm from. And I told her, well, I'm from Romania. And she's like, oh, I never visited, but I wanted to visit. And I told her, well, visit the mountains because they're beautiful. I like the mountains. And she's like, yeah, but I heard that you have to be careful because you have wild animals. And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. You need to camp in special locations. Otherwise, you can actually run into bears. And bears are seriously dangerous. So probably this conversation stuck in my brain because as I was passed out, I dreamt about forests and animals such as bears and boars and all of those nice things, but it was kind of pretty in my dream. So when I came around, I was like, why did I just see animals in the woods right now? And I realized, oh, I passed out. So I actually never passed out in my life to my recollection. I didn't know you could dream while you were out, but yeah, there you go, you can dream. Anyway, the whole experience was so embarrassing. It wasn't bad, it was just super embarrassing. I just wanted to be done and let all of the other people just go in and do their stuff and just make everything very smooth. I did the opposite by passing out on the street. Oh my goodness. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. They were like, no, why didn't you tell us? Well, you know, I was embarrassed too. No, you have to lay down and stuff. It happens to some people. Yeah, okay, I just don't want to be one of those people, but I can't avoid it. Anyway, so yeah, next time I know afterwards, I'm just gonna lay down. I'm gonna be straightforward with everybody and I'm gonna tell them that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna faint if I just walk out of here. So yeah, I'm a-okay now, just a little tired to be honest, but I'm okay, just super embarrassed. So if you ever feel woozy after this type of situation, just lay down, don't be a hero, don't walk out of there, and especially if you're not assisted by anybody, especially if you're alone, just talk to the doctors, lay down. Imagine if I fainted on the street by myself. I could have like hit my head on the ground. That's not cool. So yeah, don't do what I did because it's not cool. And that is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great weekend ahead. And let's all look forward for some more Vanda blooms soon because let's face it, Vandas have been the orchids that I really didn't excel with in the past few years, which is weird because I always had great success with Vandas. Well, turns out if you stress orchids, you're gonna wait around for flowers. Shocking. So with that said, again, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye!